Hi, y'all. What does it mean to be a substitute teacher with VIPKID? This is something that I just kind of stumbled upon, that just sort of happened to me. So, unfortunately, it's not something you can actively pursue, but I will explain to you what it is so that if the opportunity comes your way, you can go ahead and grab it. I received an email about 4 months into being a VIPKID teacher. At this point, I had regular, solid, about 40 plus classes a week, whatever I was opening at the time. So maybe that had something to do with it. I also had put in a ticket to be a trial teacher. And so I was a trial teacher and I put in a ticket to be a pre VIP teacher. That may have helped this along. Um, because when you're a substitute teacher, they want you to be able to fill in a lot of different levels. So I think that was very helpful to me in terms of becoming a substitute teacher, having the ability to teach from pre-VIPKID as a substitute teacher all the way through to level 5, I think, certified. 4. I don't know if I have level 5s or not. If I do, I have very few of them. I have a lot of 3s and 4s and obviously 2s. So, okay, what happened was one day I got an email that said, "Hey, are you interested in being a substitute teacher?" I was interested. Now that I think about it, the first email I got was even before I was pre-VIPKID. I think they were in need of teachers. This was only about a month or two, maybe 2 months after being signing up to teach classes. So the email comes to you on Wednesday morning, early Wednesday morning, because they do it during the day, their time. So when you wake up in the morning on Wednesday morning, you'll see an email saying, "Hey, you have an invitation to be a substitute teacher. If you're interested, click on the following link, look at the schedule of when we need teachers for next week, and it's only 1 week at a time. So you look at the schedule for the next week of the available openings. Then you go back to your schedule and you see what you already have booked and what spots you have open." So at that point, usually what happens when I'm a substitute teacher, it means I'm getting up at like 3:30 or 4 in the morning because I usually have classes already starting at 5:30, sometimes 5. So I have one girl that always picks Thursdays at 4:30 in the morning, and I love her to death. So my Thursdays start at 4:30. But I wanted to be a substitute teacher and try it out. So any available spot that they needed a substitute teacher for, I went ahead and clicked OK. Then I went back to my schedule and I unchecked all my availability for those in case I became a substitute teacher. They won't let you know for 2 days. So again, they ask you, there's a link that goes to a schedule that shows you what time slots they need available, and they have less substitute teachers for the early morning hours than they do at like the 7, the prime time PPT slots. They have a lot more teachers then, but I think they need a lot less then because a lot less people are available in the early morning hours, and less people want to do those times. So any times that were available, I said, I'll teach during all of these times, and I usually give them back about 10 spots during the week, maybe even more, that I'm willing to teach. And I go to my schedule, I uncheck all my availability as if I'm not able to work during that time. Then on Friday morning, early in the morning, when you wake up, you will have an email and it will say either "Thank you, we didn't need you," or "Thank you, please click on the link and see the times that you are booked." And then you will have all of your times there. I will then go back to my schedule on Friday morning and open up any time slots that they didn't book me as a substitute teacher so that I can get those classes again. And then here's the caveat. There's no place to mark on your schedule that that is a substitute slot. You just have to remember and not open up that availability because you don't want to not show up as a substitute teacher or you won't be invited back again. So what I did is I wrote on a sheet of paper all of the times and I had it next to my computer. I also had a sticky note in the top right corner with the days and times for that week. And I had a note next to my bed at night to remind me as well, because I also have a laptop that I use over in my bed, and I didn't want to sometimes look at it and go, why didn't I open that time, and then open it up, or have a priority booking request or something and then not know. I don't know if you can even get a priority booking request for the next week. I think they're almost all 2 weeks out. But at any rate, you wouldn't be able to get one. Anyway, I don't mistakenly open up a slot where I'm supposed to be a substitute teacher. Hopefully in the future, VIPKID will come up with a system where there's some sort of coding technique that you can mark off that box so that you know these are the slots where I'm being a substitute teacher. There's no way of knowing, just that email telling you these are your times. So then what happens is 15 minutes before your class, you're online and you just send a message. On the right side, you click on that little classroom button with the headset, and there's a spot there that says substitute teacher, and you type in and say, I am a substitute teacher ready to teach at, and you put in the time, Beijing time, not your time, because all our time zones are different and theirs is always the same. China only has one time zone. So we deal with everything in Beijing time, and because that's where they originate from, that's their home office. So figure out Beijing time. Little hint: I have a tab on my computer that is a Eastern Standard Time to Beijing time converter. And anytime I need to figure out what time something is Beijing time, I just click on that tab, and it's like a chart, a sliding chart where I can go ahead and highlight my time, Eastern Standard Time, and then look below and see what that is Beijing time. It just makes it easier for me, so I don't have to figure it out. When we are exactly a 12-hour time difference, it's not difficult at all. But we just had the time change for winter, and now we are 13 hours off. And I always have to remember, do I add an extra hour or subtract it? Like, who gets the extra hour? Which way? So, it's not exactly 12 hours anymore, so I go to that. Even if it is 12 hours, I still look at it because I'm always wondering, are they 12 hours ahead, or are they 12 hours, or are we 12 hours ahead? Is it that my morning is their night, and is my night their next day, or is my night their morning this day, and I don't want to do the wrong day. So I always use that because it will say the day of the week as well as the time on that converter, and I just Googled it to find that. But I digress. That's just a little tidbit to help you when you're trying to figure out what things are in Beijing time. So you go on 15 minutes before the class, say, I am a substitute teacher for the 7 p.m. Beijing time slot, and I am ready to teach. They will write back and say, thank you, teacher. Please wait, and we'll let you know if you are needed. If you have a bunch of classes and then you have a substitute slot prior to those classes, like if your classes go right up, say you have two, you're going to substitute at 9 o'clock in the morning, and you have an 8:30 and an 8 o'clock class. 9 o'clock in the morning would have been with the other time difference because we don't have 9 a.m. classes right now. But anyway, you understand what I'm saying. So at 9 o'clock in the morning, you're a substitute teacher. You have an 8:30 class, you have an 8 o'clock class. Prior to that 8 o'clock class, or whenever your first availability is before your block of teaching, you send a note to the classroom via that headset and say, I am a substitute teacher available for the time slot of, and say when it is, and then write, I will be teaching classes up to that time, but I am here and ready to teach. And they will respond and say, okay, thank you for letting us know. Then, as soon as you finish your very last class, I go back there and say, just a reminder, I'm here and ready to teach at that time slot. Because I have had problems in the past, if I didn't go back and do that, they said I didn't show up to be a substitute teacher, and I did show up to be a substitute teacher. Okay. I'm trying to remember. It has been over a month since I've been a substitute teacher, so I am trying to remember if there's any financial penalty for not showing up as a substitute teacher. And I don't think there is, but I do know that they don't want to invite you back if that happens. That is a very good question. I have had a situation where I was a substitute teacher and my internet went out. And I drove to the local McDonald's, but now, okay, we're talking 4:30 in the morning. I drove to the local McDonald's, and there were people in there in parkas, because I'm in Cleveland and it's cold, And they obviously didn't have the heat on yet that morning, getting ready to set things up, two employees. So I knew that things were up and running, and I connected to the Wi-Fi, but it simply wasn't strong enough, at least not in my car outside of McDonald's. Maybe if I was inside, it would have been okay, but they're not open at 4 in the morning. So I ended up driving to my mother's house, and at that time I was able to at least connect with the office and say, I'm having some technical difficulties, and I am driving to my mother's house, so I will be available to teach starting at this time. I just can't right now. I'm not able to connect to the classroom. I was able to get into Wi-Fi. I was able to get to the website and everything, but it wouldn't load the PowerPoint. It just wasn't strong enough. It had like some sort of little thing that said that. And of course, I'm doing this. I had both my laptop and my cell phone with me trying to get it to work. It just didn't work. I'm trying to figure out hotspots and all that other kind of stuff to when things go wrong like this, but I'm just not there yet because, as we've established, if you've seen any of these other videos, I am not technologically savvy at all. So the fact that I'm using this online platform to teach ESL classes is quite funny. Actually, when something goes wrong, I'm lost. Okay, so you've told them that you're ready to teach, and then you're in the class. You usually know if you're actually going to teach a class within the first 5 minutes, definitely within the first 10 minutes of the class, although they tell you that they want you to stay at least the first 15 minutes in the classroom. I will stay until I get something in writing from them saying you do not have to be in that class anymore. It's just backup. These have been the only situations where I really needed to submit tickets because of conflicting information. And I did have an IT situation once that they had to fix. It was a student IT and they had it as a teacher IT. But other than that, they've always been substitute teacher situations where it didn't work out as properly. So what I do on my screen, my screenshot button doesn't work, or maybe I need to do something special to use it, and I can't figure it out. So I go to the snipping tool and take a picture of my screen, all the dialogues, or I'll take my phone and take pictures. You can also bring up on the app on your phone the same conversation that's in the classroom over there, so I can take screenshots right from my phone too. And that way, if they say you didn't show up or you weren't there, you can send a screenshot that says, no, they said I could go. Or here's the timestamp where I'm like, do you need me? Do you need me? Do you need me? Sometimes they're just really, really busy and they can't get to you to just say, we don't need you, but we're busy fixing other IT things with other people, and that's just much more of a priority than telling you you can go right now. And let's face it, you're getting paid for that time spot. You get paid the full amount, which is beautiful as opposed to trials. You get paid the full amount if they don't need you teaching. If you do teach, you get paid the full amount plus $2, as if it was a last minute 24-hour booking. So it's a pretty great deal. It's pretty wonderful. I haven't been asked in the past month to substitute teach, to be honest with you, and it's frustrating to me. I did once and I couldn't do any of them, but I was going on vacation with my daughters to Catalina Island for a week, and thank goodness I said I could not teach and I didn't take any substitute teaching because it was over the Thanksgiving break when they needed people, and the internet connection on Catalina Island off the coast of California is horrendous. It is not able to really get much internet connection at all, nor less support the platform of VIPKID. So if you're traveling there, don't plan on doing classes during that time. And that was the last time, so that was Thanksgiving, so that's over a month ago, because this is now the beginning of January 5th, that is today as I'm recording this. I really enjoy being a substitute teacher, and there's nothing you can do. You can submit a ticket, and they'll just tell you, we just pick them however we pick them, and I don't know how they pick them. I did it, I don't know, 3 or 4 times. 3 or 4 different. I think 3 times I did it, and then the 4th time they asked me that week I couldn't do it, and I haven't done it since then. But one of these days they'll come back. Now, here's something else that may be controversial. I don't know. I have heard that, well, first of all, I've heard that there are people who go to that substitute button and say, I'm ready to substitute teach, and then they give you a class. They put it right into your classroom, so you can go to your booking page. You just have to keep refreshing your booking page, and then you'll see the kid show up just as if he booked it ahead of time. There have been a couple people who have taught classes when they weren't substitute teachers. And the company does not like this. So do not do that. They do not recommend that. They've gotten angry and they said they were thinking about taking action because they pay that teacher for teaching the class, and yet there may be a substitute teacher out there who didn't get an opportunity. And then they're paying the substitute teacher too. So understandably, you should not say you're a substitute teacher if you're not. However, I have heard that once you have been invited into the substitute teacher program, that you can then substitute at times that you're available by putting in a note there. So what I have done is said I am not a guaranteed substitute teacher, but I have been a substitute teacher and I'm available to teach if you need me. I've done it probably 4 times, and today was the first time that they said, we need you, we're giving you a class. It was a trial class, and it was great. So yeah, I'll get my full half hour plus the extra $2 for that time slot today. So I just want to let you know, be very clear that you're not a guaranteed substitute teacher. That's what they refer to them as you've been invited for that week, a guaranteed substitute teacher. Okay, that's all the information. If you have more questions about the program, please feel free to ask me, and I'll share with you what I know about it and what I've learned over the time. But it's really one of those things where you just cross your fingers and go, ooh, I hope they ask me to be a substitute teacher. And then when they do, know that you'll get very little sleep that week because you're going to be tempted to add those early morning slots. But that's okay because most of the time my kids, they did need me as a substitute teacher. I would say that probably 75 to 80% of the time you're teaching, maybe 80% of the time you are teaching as a substitute teacher. But then you get the extra $2 too. So, and if not, then you have an opportunity to kind of make a video like this or browse your email for that half an hour and get paid from it for it from VIPKID. Okay, that's it for today. Thanks for listening. If you're interested in becoming a teacher and you haven't signed up with VIPKID yet, of course I have a referral link below, and I appreciate and thank you if you go ahead and use that referral link. If you want to send me a private message in email or leave a message down below about any questions, please do that too. I'm more than happy to answer them as well. This is just sort of a new platform because of local people who are interested in VIPKID, and I thought I'm going to start making videos for my friends who are interested in this. So I didn't mean for this to be anything much larger than kind of branching out of the Cleveland area, but if there's people around the country that have questions for me, by all means, I'm more than happy to answer them. Take care and have